In the discussion on vector spaces, so far we have been discussing finite dimensional vector space. Now in today's class we will discuss infinite dimensional vector space. Why do we need infinite dimensional vector space? Okay, let's briefly look at what we have been discussing, the finite dimensional vector spaces that we have been discussing so far. See, remember Stern-Gerlach experiment. We have an atom, let us say a spin half atom. In general, let's say we have a spin half particle, and we want to measure the z component of the, or one component of the spin of the particle. Okay, so if it's a spin half particle, so our system is a spin half particle, and yes, we want to measure the z component of the spin. Okay, and we know the result is z component of the spin has two values, plus or minus h cross by 2. Okay, so here our system is a spin half particle, and the state of the system, suppose this, that is the state of the system here, is defined in terms of a single physical quantity, which is Sz. Okay, the state of the system is defined in terms of a single physical quantity Sz, and this physical quantity has only two possible eigenvalues, plus or minus h cross by 2. So what are the corresponding eigenkets? So the corresponding eigenkets are, let us say, ket. Yeah, we have used something like ket sh plus ket sh minus. Earlier we have used such a notation. Okay, there are different ways of using that. We can say ket plus h cross by 2, ket minus h cross by 2. We can use these eigenvalues to label the eigenkets. Or there are other ways also, ket upspin, ket downspin, something like that. Or simply ket plus, ket minus. Anyway, so the idea is this. This is our system. The state of the system is defined in terms of a single physical quantity as set. It has only two possible eigenvalues. So look at that. These eigenvalues are they form a discrete set, or we can say that they form a discrete spectra. Okay, they are discrete. That means they are quantized. There are only two possible values. So these eigenvalues form a discrete spectra, and there are only two. If there are only two, we can say that they form a discrete spectra and finite. And the spectra is also finite spectra. So discrete spectra as well as finite spectra. So the number of eigenvalues are quantized. That is the meaning of discrete spectra. And these eigenvalues are quantized. That's the meaning of discrete spectra. And the number of eigenvalues is finite. Okay. Then naturally the eigenkets are also, number of eigenkets are also finite. Now how do we represent the state of the system? So we know that the state of the system is represented in terms of a vector in a vector space, in a complex vector space. Now what is this complex vector space, or what is the dimension of this complex vector space? Here the dimension of this vector space, where we represent the state of the system as a ket or as a state vector, is spanned by these eigenkets. Okay, now these eigenkets are, number of eigenkets are only 2. So we say that it's a two-dimensional vector space. Okay, so we can visualize it something like this. And let us say, consider a two-dimensional vector space like this. So this eigenket, this is one basis ket. This is the eigenket Sz plus, and this is the eigenket Sz minus. Okay, this is our two-dimensional vector space, and the general state of the system can be represented by a ket, let us say ket alpha, in this vector space. So our system is a spin half particle. State is defined in terms of a single physical quantity as said. Its eigenvalues are only 2. Since eigenvalues are only 2, eigenkets are also 2. And therefore, this state is represented by a vector in a two-dimensional vector space. Okay, that vector space, the state is represented by a vector in a vector space, and the vector space will be, dimension of the vector space will be defined in terms of the number of eigenkets of this physical quantity. Okay, so these are all connected. The state is defined in terms of only the single physical quantity, then the state vector will be a vector in a vector space whose dimension is decided by the number of eigenkets of this physical quantity, which is 2. That's why we say that a spin half particle has a two-dimensional vector space. Okay, and also notice that, so it's a number of, the reason is that the number of eigenvalues is finite. Okay, then the number of eigenkets is also finite. So it's a finite dimensional. This is an example of a finite dimensional vector space. Also notice that these eigenvalues are discrete, so they form a discrete spectra. So they form a discrete and finite spectra. Since they form a finite spectra, only 2 possible values are there, we have a finite dimensional vector space. So when do we use finite dimensional vector space? If we have a system, and the state of the system is defined in terms of a physical quantity whose eigenvalues form a finite spectra, or if the number of eigenvalues is limited, finite, then the number of eigenkets is also finite. Then in that case, the state vector, the state of the system is represented by a vector in a vector space which is spanned by these eigenkets. Since the number of eigenkets is finite, the dimension of the vector space is also finite. So we have a finite dimensional vector space. This is an additional feature that these eigenvalues are discrete. Okay. Now, when do we need an infinite dimensional vector space? Okay, let us consider another physical quantity. Okay, let us consider a linear harmonic oscillator. Okay, we will study in the next unit in quantum dynamics. We will study this linear harmonic oscillator in detail, but you have studied it in your BSc classes also. What is a linear harmonic oscillator? In the context of we can consider a quantum oscillator. Example is a vibrating atom in a solid, or a vibrating diatomic molecule. These are all quantum microscopic linear harmonic oscillators. So consider such a linear harmonic oscillator. We know that, or you might have studied that its energy values are something like this: n plus half h cross omega, or we can say n plus half h nu, where this n has values 0. This is a quantum number. It has values 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So corresponding to each value of n, we have different energy values. So what are the different energy values? Different energy values are E1. Sorry, first E0 is half h cross omega. This is the ground state energy. Then E1 is 3 by 2 h cross omega. Put n equal to 2. Put n equal to 1, we get 3 by 2 h cross omega. Put n equal to 2, we have 5 by 2 h cross omega. It goes like that. Okay. Consider this system. Okay. Now, here we consider this. Let's say we consider the state of the system which is defined in terms of a single physical quantity, which is the energy of the system. Or in other words, let us say we want to study the energy state of this linear harmonic oscillator. So what in that case, what is the state of the system? It is defined in terms of this physical quantity. Okay. Now look at this physical quantity. How many eigenvalues are these? Are the energy eigenvalues. How many energy eigenvalues are there? Half h cross omega, 3 by 2 h cross omega, 5 by 2 h cross omega, etc. See, these energy eigenvalues are quantized by the quantum number n. How many quantum numbers are there? This will go up to infinity. So infinite values of quantum numbers are there, that means infinite values of energy eigenvalues are there. Okay. Now, if energy eigenvalues are infinite, so we can see that these are also discrete. Okay, so this is a discrete spectrum, but it's an infinite spectrum. It's not finite, it's not limited. Okay, so we can say this is a discrete spectrum and infinite spectrum. See, this word spectrum is often used to refer to the set of eigenvalues. So when we say spectrum, we talk about a spectrum of a physical quantity, it means that eigenvalue, the set of eigenvalues of the physical quantity. So energy spectrum means energy eigenvalues of the system. So in linear harmonic oscillator, this energy spectrum is discrete but infinite, as well as infinite. Let us look at the infinite nature of this energy spectrum. So if it is infinite, then the number of energy eigengets is also infinite. When these eigenvalues are quantized in terms of a quantum number, instead of using the entire eigenvalue to represent the corresponding eigenget, we often use the corresponding quantum number. It's a shorthand way. For example, these eigengets, corresponding to these eigenvalues, we can label them in terms of the full energy eigenvalue. For example, we can label them something like ket half h cross omega. But we can also label this in terms of the corresponding quantum number. What is the quantum number corresponding to this energy eigenvalue? We get this energy eigenvalue when you put n equal to 0. Okay? See, I have labeled this energy in terms of the suffix 0, E0. So we can use another way of using this is equivalent to, we can also say ket E0, or we can also say simply ket 0. Here the eigenvalue, or here and here the eigenket is labeled in terms of the eigenvalue. Here we have only used the symbol, here we have used the full eigenvalue, here we have used the symbol. Here we have labeled the eigenket in terms of the quantum number. So following the same logic, this you can represent either 3 by 2 h cross omega, or you can say ket E1, or better you can simply say ket 1. This is the best possible because we are using a shorthand way, and the idea is clear. So you can label, earlier I have said that eigenkets are labeled in terms of the eigenvalue, but here also the logic is the same. Only thing is that instead of using the full eigenvalue, we are using the corresponding quantum number. Okay, so the idea is this number of eigenvalues is an infinite set, so this number of eigenkets is also infinite. Ket 0, ket 1, ket 2, ket 3, etc. It's discrete, countable, but it is infinite. Then how do you represent a general state of a linear harmonic oscillator? Okay, this state is represented by a vector in a vector space. What is the dimension of the vector space? It is spanned, its dimension is decided by the number of eigenkets required to span this vector space. How many eigenkets are required? Infinite number of eigenkets are required. So the vector space of a linear harmonic oscillator is infinite dimensional. Okay, because see, this depends on how we define the state of the system. Our system is linear harmonic oscillator, but the crucial point is that the state of the system is an energy state. We want to define the state in terms of the physical quantity energy. And this energy has infinite number of eigenvalues. Therefore, number of eigenkets is also infinite. It's discrete but infinite. Therefore, the space of the harmonic oscillator we want to define, where we want to define the state vector. Important point is that state is defined in terms of in terms of the physical quantity which has infinite number of eigenvalues. So this state is represented in a vector space which is spanned by this infinite number of eigenkets. So it's an infinite dimensional vector space. So this is one situation where we need an infinite dimensional vector space. Here a subtle difference is that it's an infinite dimensional vector space, but since these eigen values and these corresponding eigenkets form a discrete spectrum, this infinite dimensional vector space is a countably infinite dimensional. Okay, it's infinite dimensional but countable in the sense that these eigenkets are countable: ket 0, ket 1, ket 2, ket 3, ket 4, etc. Okay, so we have here the vector space is infinite dimensional, and we can say that this vector space is countably infinite. Countably infinite. Now let us consider a third example. Okay, suppose our system is a particle moving along the x direction. Okay, consider a situation like this. A particle is moving along the x direction, a free particle. Now suppose we want to measure the position of this particle. Okay, and we want to define the state of the system in terms of the physical quantity position. Okay. Now, when you want to measure, when we measure the position of this particle along the x-axis, we see that this position, let us say let's use the symbol x for the position. This position has continuous values. Okay, it has continuous values between minus infinity to plus infinity. It can have any value between minus infinity and plus infinity continuously. That means we cannot count it like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, etc. Between 1 and 1.5 there can be any number of values. Okay, it can be as small as 1.0001, 1.0002. And between 1 and 1.0001 there can be any number of values. So it's continuously varying. We can have any value between minus infinity and plus infinity. In other words, if this is the position operator, the position eigenvalues they are continuous. Okay, so we can say that this is a continuous spectrum. Continuous spectrum and infinite spectrum. Any continuous spectrum is infinite spectrum. Okay. Whereas in the previous two examples we can see that if it is discrete spectrum there are two possibilities. It can be finite, as in the case of a spin half particle whose state is defined only in terms of the z component of the spin. It has two values. Whereas in the case of linear harmonic oscillator whose state is defined only in terms of energy, the energy is discrete but infinite. Okay, so if it is a discrete, if the set of eigenvalues is a discrete spectrum, there are two possibilities. It can be finite or it can be infinite. Whereas if the set of eigenvalues form a continuous spectrum, we don't have to add that it's an infinite spectrum. Okay, it's not an additional property, it is embedded here. If it is continuous, it is infinite. Between, as I have said, between 1 and 1.5, there are infinite number of values. So the position can have any real value between minus infinity and plus infinity, and the real number system, we know the integer numbers are infinite, but they are countably infinite. The real numbers are infinite, but they are uncountably infinite. The reason is that the variation is continuous. Okay. So they are uncountably infinite. So it's a continuous spectrum. It's sufficient to say that it's a continuous spectrum. It's guaranteed that it's an infinite spectrum. So how do we define the state of how do we represent the state of a system as a vector in a vector space? What is the dimension of the vector space? The vector space is spanned by position eigenkets. We can use this symbol for the position eigenkets. Okay. Or let's say this is our position operator, and the position eigenvalues, let me use this symbol x prime for the position eigenvalues. Then the position eigenkets are labeled like ket x prime. Okay, consider an eigenvalue equation like this. X is the position operator, it acts on the position eigenket x prime. We get the eigenvalue x prime, eigenket x prime. Okay, so this is the position operator. This is the position eigenvalue. Position eigenvalue means simply a number with the dimension of length. For example, x prime is equal to 0.23 centimeter. Okay, it's some particular value with the dimension of the length. And these are position eigenkets. And we postulate that these position eigenkets form a complete set. Okay, they form a complete set. So let's come back to our question. How do we represent the state of a system which is defined in terms of the physical quantity position? Okay, so how do we, what is the vector space in which this ket vector is represented? It's drawn. And this vector space is spanned by position eigenkets, and these position eigenkets form a continuous spectrum. That means they form an infinite spectrum. There are infinite number of position eigenkets, and they are uncountably infinite. So naturally, the dimension of this vector space is an infinite dimensional vector space. But there is a difference between this infinite dimensional vector space and the infinite dimensional vector space we use for linear harmonic oscillator. The infinite dimensional vector space that we use for linear harmonic oscillator is it has a discreteness in the sense that eigenkets are countable, because eigenvalues are countable. So it's countably infinite. It's a sort of a discrete infinite dimensional vector space, because the eigenvalue spectrum is a discrete spectrum. Whereas here, the vector space in which we want to represent the state of a free particle, where the position, which is the state is defined in terms of the position of the particle, then it is represented in a vector space. It's an infinite dimensional vector space, but these position eigenvalues are continuous spectrum. Okay, so the eigenkets are also continuous. It means that we cannot count them. If it is continuous, we cannot count them. So that this vector space is also an infinite dimensional vector space, but it is uncountably infinite. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we have obtained we have used different relations for finite dimensional vector spaces, where if it is a finite dimensional vector space, then it is guaranteed that the eigenvalue spectrum is a discrete spectrum. Okay, only if the eigenvalue spectrum is a discrete spectrum, we have a finite dimensional vector space. So we have obtained different relations for that. We want to generalize this, or we want to extend these relations to infinite dimensional vector spaces. So for infinite dimensional vector spaces, we have two choices. It can be countably infinite, it can be uncountably infinite. Okay, the countably infinite case comes when the eigenvalue spectrum is still discrete, as in the case of a linear harmonic oscillator. But let us focus on this type of continuous spectrum. Eigenvalue spectrum is a continuous spectrum, as in the case of position of a particle. It need not be a free particle. Even if it's a particle confined in a box, position is always continuous. Another such continuous eigenvalue spectrum is there for another physical quantity is momentum, linear momentum, okay, of a particle. So if you take, if it's a free particle, then linear momentum is continuous. If it is confined in a box, then linear momentum is no longer continuous, it is discrete. Okay, so linear for a free particle, position is a position has continuous spectrum. Linear momentum also has continuous spectrum. Then the corresponding vector space, where we represent the state of the system in terms of physical quantities like position, linear momentum, etc. That state vector is in a vector space which is infinite dimensional vector space. It's uncountably infinite. It's some sort of a continuous vector space. Okay, so we want to extend our relations, the different equations that we have obtained from the finite dimensional vector space to an infinite dimensional vector space which is uncountably infinite. Let's consider that these different relations. I have listed 7 relations that we have so far studied in finite dimensional vector space. We will extend, we will see how we can rewrite them in infinite dimensional vector space. So let us remember, let us try to revise these relations in finite dimensional vector space one by one. So first of all, eigenvalue equation. How do we write it in a finite dimensional vector space? Some operator A acting on its eigenket A prime is equal to eigenvalue A prime times eigenket A prime. Right? A prime is the eigenvalue, ket A prime is the eigenket. So this is how we write the eigenvalue equation in the finite dimensional vector space. In infinite dimensional vector space, we use the same idea. So let me use some operator, let's say theta. Its eigenvalue spectrum is continuous spectrum, just like position operator. Okay, so something like okay. So some operator theta acting on ket theta prime, its eigenket equal to theta prime ket theta prime. So this is similar to this one. Only thing is that this is an operator whose eigenvalue spectrum is a continuous spectrum, just like position operator. Hence, eigenkets are also they also form a continuous spectrum. Okay. Then next is orthonormality of eigenkets. We know that these operators, whether it's an operator who's with a discrete eigenvalue spectrum or an operator with continuous eigenvalue spectrum, these operators are all Hermitian operators. So their eigenvectors are orthogonal to each other. We can normalize them also. So what is the orthonormality of eigenkets? In a finite dimensional, we use this relation A prime, A double prime. A prime is ket A prime is one eigenket, ket A double prime is another eigenket of the same operator A. Okay, so the inner product between them is represented by Kronecker delta. It means that if A prime, ket A prime and or A prime and A double prime are the same, then we get 1. This is the normalization condition. Inner product of a eigenket with itself. It's normalized. On the other hand, if A prime and A double prime are different, if there are two different eigenkets, then the right hand side, if the indices are different, Kronecker delta is 0, right hand side is 0, which means that two different eigenkets are orthogonal to each other. This is a property of a Hermitian operator. What about in the continuous case? Consider two different eigenkets of this operator. Remember, they are continuous. Okay, so something like this. Inner product between ket zeta prime and ket zeta double prime. When we take the inner product, we have to take one of them as bra vector. But these are continuous eigenkets. Okay, then how do we write down the orthonormality? This orthonormality is expressed in terms of Dirac delta function. I can use this simple. It's a Dirac delta function. Okay, it means that if zeta prime is not equal to zeta double prime, then this Dirac delta function will give 0. Okay, just like here. On the other hand, if zeta prime is equal to zeta double prime, it's a large value, an infinitely large value. So we can, so usually we don't define Dirac delta function when zeta prime is equal to zeta double prime. It goes to very large values. This Dirac delta function is properly defined only under an integral sign. Okay, so this is the result. The orthonormality of two continuous eigenkets are defined in terms of Dirac delta function. Then next is completeness of eigenkets. Okay, this is another property of eigenkets of a Hermitian operator. They form a complete set. That means the number of eigenkets is equal to the dimension of the vector space. Okay. So in the case of a finite dimension, this completeness condition is expressed in terms of the summation over A prime, ket A prime, bra vector A prime is equal to identity. In a infinite dimensional vector space, remember the eigenkets are continuous. So instead of this summation, we have an integral d theta prime, ket theta prime, bra vector theta prime equal to identity. So we can see that these two equations are identical or equivalent to each other. Only thing is that here the eigenkets are discrete, they are countable, so we use summation. Here the eigenkets are continuous, they are uncountable, so we use integration. That's all. The next is expansion of a general ket, let us say ket alpha, in terms of the eigenkets. Okay. So here, if these eigenkets form a complete set, it means that any general ket alpha we can expand in terms of these eigenkets, like this. Summation over A prime. We can use this expression. That means we can introduce an identity here, and instead of this identity, we can use the completeness condition. So we can say ket A prime, gra vector A prime, ket alpha. Okay, we can think about it like this. Introduce an identity here. Instead of identity, let us substitute the completeness condition, just like that. Here, this inner product between bra vector A prime and ket alpha, this is the expansion coefficient. Okay, so this is like an expansion in terms of the eigenkets A prime, but this is some scalar, some complex scalar, let's say C A prime, C suffix A prime. Okay, we have seen this equation before. Okay, so this is the expansion of a general ket alpha in terms of the basis kets or eigenkets. And how do we do this in the case of continuous basis? Instead of summation, we have to use integration, that's all. So here we write ket alpha is equal to integral d theta prime. Here also we do this like this. Let's introduce an identity here. In place of this identity, use the completeness condition. So d theta prime, ket theta prime, gra vector theta prime alpha. So this is how we expand a general ket in terms of basis kets or continuous basis in a infinite dimensional vector space, or which is continuous or uncountable. Normalization of ket alpha. Okay. So let's try to express the normalization of ket alpha in terms of the expansion coefficients. Remember that this is the expansion coefficient, A prime, gra vector A prime, ket alpha. This is the component of ket alpha, general ket, in the direction of this basis ket. Here also, this is the component of ket alpha in the direction of this eigenket, ket theta prime. Okay. So how do we represent the normalization of alpha in terms of the expansion coefficients here and here? Okay. This is like this, summation over A prime. Remember, this is the expansion coefficient. So A prime ket alpha mod square is equal to identity. That means the sum over the squares of the expansion coefficient should be equal to identity. How do we get this? We can start with the idea that ket alpha is normalized. If ket alpha is normalized, inner product of ket alpha with itself, that is gra vector alpha, ket alpha, should be identity. And in place of gra vector alpha and ket alpha, substitute this. We have done this before, so I am not repeating. So instead of ket alpha, substitute this. Instead of gra vector alpha, substitute the same thing with a different dummy index, maybe A double prime. Then you will have to use this normalized orthonormality condition of eigenkets. You will end up with this relation. So if inner product of ket alpha with itself, that is gra vector alpha, ket alpha is equal to identity, we can rewrite this, that is the normalization of ket alpha, general ket alpha. Then we can rewrite this normalization of the general ket vector in terms of the eigenkets like this. It can be translated as summation over the mod square of expansion coefficient is equal to identity. This is like this is C A prime, okay, or we can call it C1, C2, C3, etc. This is like sum over mod C1 square plus mod C2 square plus mod C3 square, etc. equal to identity. So the summation of the squares of expansion coefficients will be identity. That is how we rewrite the normalization of ket alpha in terms of the expansion coefficients. Remember that this expansion coefficient represent probability. This A prime ket alpha. No, the square of this expansion coefficient represents the probability of this general ket to be the probability of this general ket to collapse into this this eigenket. For example, if the initially or the particle is in a general ket alpha, when you make a measurement, the probability of the state to change from this ket alpha to the eigenket A prime is, the probability is given by this quantity, the square of this expansion coefficient. So the sum of the squares of expansion coefficient equal to identity, it only means that, no, actually this is 1, it's not identity, this should be 1. Okay. So the sum of the squares of expansion coefficient equal to 1, it means that the total probability is 100%. Okay, the total probability for the system, the state of the system to change from a general state to one of the eigenstates is 100% or 1. That's the meaning of that. So how do we write the normalization of ket alpha in terms of the expansion coefficient in this case? In infinite dimensional vector space, you can have the same relation. Instead of summation, we can have integration. That's it. So integral d theta prime. Here the probability is given by, this is the expansion coefficient, so probability is the square of this one. So mod theta prime alpha square, this is equal to 1. Okay. So the idea is the same. Here this also means the total probability equal to 1. Now inner product in terms of eigenkets, inner product between two kets, let's say ket alpha and ket beta, how do we rewrite it in terms of the eigenkets? So let's consider inner product bra vector beta ket alpha. We can write this in terms of eigenkets like this. And what we do is, in between you can introduce, in between this bra vector beta and ket alpha, we can introduce an identity. In place of this identity, let's use this completeness condition. So we can write this as sum over A prime bra vector beta ket A prime bra vector A prime alpha. See, what we have done is, in between we have introduced an identity, and in place of identity we have used this condition, completeness condition. So now each one is expressed in terms of the components. So here it's an inner product between two kets, ket alpha and ket beta. But here we get the component of ket alpha in the direction of A prime. Here we have the complex conjugate of component of beta in terms of A prime. This we can write as A prime ket bra vector A prime ket beta star. Okay. So each term is now in terms of the component. So what we have done is, we have expressed inner product in terms of the eigenkets, or in terms of the components of the vectors in a particular basis set. How do we write this in continuous case, or in infinite dimensional vector space? Instead of summation, we need integration, that's all. Okay, integral. The technique is the same. Introduce an identity here, and use this completeness condition. So integral d theta prime. So we have this is it. Finally, matrix elements of an operator in its eigenbasis. Okay. We know that when you express an operator in its eigenbasis, this operator will be represented by a matrix which is diagonal, and these diagonal elements are its eigenvalues. Okay. So how do we write this? Here in the finite dimensional case, consider this matrix element where the row index is defined in terms of the eigenket A double prime, column index is defined in terms of the eigenket A prime. These A prime, A double prime, or these are all eigenkets of the operator A. So we are trying to calculate the matrix element of an operator in its own eigenkets, or in its own eigenbasis. So when A acts on A prime, it's like this. When A acts on A prime, ket A prime, we get an eigenvalue A prime times ket A prime. So an eigenvalue A prime will come here, we can take it outside. Then it's an inner product between a ket bra vector A double prime and ket A prime. Okay, so it's a Kronecker delta. So what you have is A prime times Kronecker delta. So it's clear that only if A prime is equal to A double prime, that means only in the case of diagonal elements, this Kronecker delta is non-zero, which is 1. So only of all the off diagonal elements, when A double prime row index and column index are different, this right hand side will be 0. So all the off diagonal elements are 0, only diagonal elements are non-zero, and these diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the operator A. So the idea is that matrix element of an operator in its eigenbasis, these matrix elements or this matrix is a diagonal matrix. The diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the operator. How do we write the same equation in an infinite dimensional vector space? Consider this. Okay, our operator is theta. This ket theta prime, bravector theta double or ket theta double prime, these are all eigenkets of the operator. These eigenkets are continuous, and so what you get is okay. Instead of Kronecker delta, we are using Dirac delta function. That's all. And this also represents. So this represents an infinite dimensional. So this represents a finite dimensional matrix. Let's say an n by n matrix, which is diagonal. This represents an infinite dimensional matrix, which is diagonal. Okay. So this is an infinite dimensional matrix. So the matrix of an operator in its eigenbasis. In an infinite dimensional vector space, naturally, if it's an infinite dimensional vector space, the matrix is an infinite dimensional matrix, but it's diagonal. How do you represent that matrix? Like this. We use Dirac delta function instead of Kronecker delta, and again, these diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the operator. So these eigenvalues are continuous. Matrix is infinite dimensional, but the general idea is the same. The operator is diagonal, the matrix of the operator is diagonal in its own eigenbasis, and the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the operator. So now we see how to rewrite the different relations that we have already studied in a finite dimensional vector space into an infinite dimensional vector space.